That's it. We're in it. What's going on?
Hey, brother. How are
Hey,
you?
I'm doing well. I cannot complain. Excited for our show and for our month to continue being able to talk about basically that resentment that builds up and how to get through and how to be better, how to come out on the other end. I feel like these shows that we've had are highly beneficial to everybody just getting better little by little. Um,
Hmm.
and that makes me super excited that people are able to get better in their relationships and get to a different place in their life. There's nothing like being able to have peace after you hurt, like there's nothing like that. And so us being able to just find a route for that and being able to help people out, I'm pumped about it.
Yeah, it's exciting because the more you heal, the more you improve yourself, the better your life gets.
Hmm.
And so when you continue to keep on upgrading, healing, getting to that next level, then so does your life.
Right.
As you change it in here, and then what happens out here shall appear much different.
Hmm. Yes, it is. It's really a big deal, like how small things, that we experience in life can actually change everything, and it has to start on the inside for us to be able to have that result. I mean, it's helpful to do outside things, but the more that we talk about, if we kind of rewind the tapes on the things that we've talked about, the more we talk about um, what makes better, the things that make better are all inside things. Um, so at some rate, we all do things that kind of trap us a little bit. And one of those things is we kind of hold on to things and and in that process, we say, I'm good. It's not bothering me. It's not a situation. It's not something that that bothers me. I'm okay. I'm okay. Right. And really, we're kind of holding on to it. We talked last week a little bit about um, how resentment builds, but now us being able to talk about today is like just pretending that it didn't hurt at all. I think a lot of times whenever we do that, we um, we end up carrying something, and nobody else has to. Right? So somebody does something to us. We talk about calling. Somebody calls me a name, um, and we you just act like it didn't hurt or try to act like it didn't hurt because it's not
Yeah.
supposed to, and then you're the
Hmm.
one carrying it. I remember actually as a child being bullied and the names that kind of came in, and like I'm fighting everybody, like physically fighting um, because of it, but always trying to be tough about that scenario. And I think what that does is it creates over a long period of time like a callous type of experience. And so who has to deal with that callous? Well, I have to deal with that callous. And if I never deal with it, then all the people around me, my wife, my children, everybody has to deal with the same kind of callous where the fear of something outside of me ends up causing more pain than what I can handle. And so, what we can handle as children is very different than what we can handle as adults. But sometimes we're left with those kinds of experiences where we pretend it's not hurting to kind of block it, but we never let our forearm up, or
Hmm.
down. So I think that's something we want to be able to discuss today. Is like um, sometimes like we think that we've moved on, but it's not true. We haven't. We were pretending like it didn't hurt at all.
Yep. And that's what we do. And what makes it challenging sometimes to let go of things or feel like we have to be tough about them is when we get shamed for
Mhm.
you still holding on to that. You still, man, come on now. Like
Yeah.
we get convinced that how we feel isn't, the right way to feel.
Hmm.
It's our fault for not being able to let it go.
Right.
Or even growing up in environments or even having, the people or those around you, you know, uh, having that kind of, energy, man, and then that's what you hear so much even growing up too. And then the friends around you, just don't worry about it, man, just focus on other things. Yeah, all right. And when that happens, you really don't process. And if you do, it's like processing like instant coffee, just
Yeah.
just right away, not
Right.
really embracing or understanding how it all made you feel and what path to pick and how to get there moving forward.
Yeah. And the thing that I think that blocks us from, if we're not able to like actually say, "Hey, that hurt," is the ability to forgive, which is kind of weird. Like I said earlier, like I was fighting when I was getting bullied, but that wasn't the answer to really do things differently. The answer is really forgiveness, which that doesn't always seem like the answer either, because it feels like we're giving somebody a pass. We'll get into forgiveness later, but I know that that's a thing that it blocks. We actually have a question from a listener that I think will help us to kind of like tie in this message, which is I forgave my partner, but I still feel angry sometimes. Does that mean I don't really forgive them? So if you were answering that question, how would you answer that question to that client, I guess, in this case, listener?
Repeat repeat the question because I
Yeah, I
thought you
think,
were referring to another question. I see a question in the gram. I'm
uh-huh.
not sure where that one came from. Yeah, but can you repeat that question and then maybe we'll get to the next question?
Yeah, I forgave my partner, but I still feel angry sometimes. Does that mean I don't really forgive them?
Uh, yeah, so it can, but you see, the thing with forgiveness is it comes in stages. And so just because you forgive somebody one day doesn't mean something will happen the next day that will trigger a thought and a feeling, and then everything surfaces again. And so it does, take time with forgiveness. That's why when I say when it comes to forgiveness, whether you are asking for forgiveness, forgiving forgiveness, whatever it is, you be redundant about it.
Hmm.
And over time, that's when the forgiveness actually sinks in. But it also may not be. Here's one thing to be aware of as well, to that person is you may be forgiving them, but maybe you're not forgiving yourself. And so that also can happen too. Maybe you forgave them, but you didn't forgive the other person. Maybe you forgave them, but you didn't forgive the situation. Maybe you forgave them, but you didn't forgive yourself. Maybe you forgave yourself, but you still haven't forgiven all those
Hmm.
other people or
Right.
whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I love that because a lot of times, you guys, whenever we're going through a hard scenario, there's unseen part of this unspoken part where we think for ourselves, or at least subconsciously, it's like, man, how could I have been so weak to go to have to actually to not see what I should have been seeing, right? Or how come I wasn't enough? It's all those things that they're subconscious messages that, yeah, we are have to sometimes forgive ourselves for certain aspects of what's going on. For our listener, I don't think that it means that you haven't really forgiven somebody just because you feel angry. Angry is an outcome not of forgive or not forgive. Angry is an outcome of us being hurt or having broken expectations. And so if you feel angry, it's because of where your expectations were at. It's because of the thing that you assumed didn't happen, right? Or it's the thing that you assumed would happen did not happen. And the more those things happen in our lives, we will feel some derivative of anger, whether it's rage or bothered or irritated, or we'll just maybe call it angry. And so I don't think that that also means that I didn't forgive. So I can do forgive, and kind of like what Fit was describing, forgive is something that happens over a period of time that you keep working on, and actually can get stronger. I believe that forgiveness can get stronger the more you understand what it actually is. So here's what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not okaying what another person did. Here's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is allowing yourself to not be tied to the hardship that somebody else created for you or in their own lives, right? And so the more we forgive, we're not carrying something around that doesn't belong to us, right? There are certain things, because we're connected to people, when somebody else is hurting, that hurt gets on us, we will feel. That means there will be anger. It does not mean that you haven't forgiven. Forgiven says, okay, I have let go of being tied to those outcomes that got created by somebody else. Okay. So I think that's a really big deal. We won't measure whether we forgive on how we feel about the scenario, because we can still feel sad or hurt. That won't move your emotions. Okay.
Mhm.
Anything else you wanted to add to that for our listener, Fit?
Well, it seems like there's some comments going on, and I wanted to show them some care as
Yeah,
well,
let's do it.
if
Let's
we
do it.
could. Yeah. Um, Recently, I came to know about my husband's illicit relation with another woman who is also married with two kids. That's not really the question, but I see that there's a follow up. He is behaving as if he has not done anything wrong. Now he wants to give me divorce as the reason is because I'm not forgiving him. So
Mhm.
that actually does tie into what we were talking about. Okay. What do you think of that?
You know, I always don't answer the questions because I hear the questions and then I know that there's
More.
something else. So a couple of things is um, forgiveness can't be the reason for divorce when infidelity is in a relationship, right? The real issue is the relationship is not being pursued at a high level, right? And so we talked a little bit about this last week, but in general, like our causes for divorce cannot be that small. When it comes time to us wanting to get a divorce or not, or wanting to be in the relationship, that we have to have a bigger sight in mind. So we have to have a bigger vision. There has to be something else in our minds about what it is that we're trying to do in the relationship. So if I hurt somebody in my relationship, the responsibility isn't now for that other person to be different, for me to be okay. I can't point fingers. In relationship, matter of fact, even if nobody is hurting anybody else, the relationship responsibility is I need to do the best that I can do and be the best that I possibly can be so this relationship and the other people around me can thrive. That's what's needed. And if my escape or my go to in this scenario is I got to find what you're doing wrong so that I have a way out, it's unfair to anybody. And it's not a conversation to have. Right now, does two people always in a relationship have responsibility to do better themselves? The answer is yes. If forgiveness is my next step, then I need to do forgiveness. But sometimes forgiveness is not my next step. First, I need to figure out what the heck is going on in my life, right? And then maybe I can get to forgiveness. But me as a partner in a relationship, I can't impose what needs to be next on the next person. And if I needed to do that, for instance, forgiveness is that thing. If I could impose that on the next person, I probably have to impose it on myself first. What do I need to do next to be in a better situation to create a better scenario? Right.
Mm.
So, and I think it's so difficult because I hear the question, but at the same time, I'm thinking like it's not really a whether I forgive or forgive problem. It's a deeper problem than that because if we're pursuing our relationship, there is no standard that you need to do something different for me to be okay. Right. So the real case is can we pursue relationship? And we don't throw out the D word. Divorce doesn't need to come into play. If that's where we're at, that's where we're at. But instead, and while we're here, it's like, what do we need to do to pursue our relationship? Right. So I think it's a different kind of mind frame that I have when it comes time to relationships as far as what needs to happen. And the onus is on each individual to be better as people inside the relationship and outside of the relationship. And when we're not ready, we accidentally display it by going to the other person and having them make the change before we are doing something different. Right. And that's just kind of what happens. I know that's challenging. I know it doesn't really answer the question. Um, but it's hard to answer that second layer question without us having a good vision. So what happens in couples therapy a lot of times, oh, it doesn't happen very much anymore, but I think before what used to happen is, couples will want to come and talk about like who's communicating better and how that has to happen. And the one thing that I kept finding is this isn't a communication issue. It's that you're finding ways out of the hardship or you're trying to do something different in your relationship other than pursue at your best. That's what this issue is about. Because if we're pursuing, there's a lot of answers to our questions. If we're not pursuing, there's not a good enough answer. Okay. And I think that that's really important for all of us looking into our relationship scenarios. Okay. So now I need to give an what to do next because if we flip it like that, then okay, so then what do I do? Because
Yeah.
we're not in that place, right? And I would say to our question asker, I didn't get to see it up on my screen fit, but either way, I'm going to answer it for that specific person. Um, Other people can do things how they need to do things, and it is hurtful to us, especially if they're in close proximity, like a partner in our relationship. Um, but it's time for us to start setting a standard for ourselves of look, I'm actually pursuing a relationship, and my job is just to do the best I can. I don't know what the next scenario will bring me, but I want to be the best husband or best wife that I could possibly be right now. And I know that the other person doesn't get to tell me that or won't have to tell me that. I just need to pursue it for myself. For me and my pursuit, I go to scripture for that. Not everybody will go to scripture, and that's fine. You can go to wherever you need to go to for it. But what do I need to do to pursue at a high level? That's the next question. So the next step in the relationship is not go back and have a conversation like, hey, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. The next step is what do I need to do to just be better as a person and get to the place where I need to be. I always tell my couples, look, if you guys aren't going to make it, I at least want you to be able to do well in your next relationship. So get so good before you leave this one that you won't
Yeah,
mess the
of
next one up, right?
course.
And my bet is like if we get that good in this one, we won't leave this one either, right? So I just want to get better at relationship, whether or not somebody else is willing to. I just want to be better. And so I'm going to just keep pursuing that. And that's the challenge that I would throw out. I'm not giving an easy route. I know that. Just be as good as you possibly can be in this relationship. Okay. Was there another
I
question in
will.
there? And do you want to, yeah, do you want to answer in there?
If I add to that, I'm not going to stop. All right. So well, we got some engagement here today, so we'll try to keep it going. But
Yeah, let's do it.
uh, LVLUVR says I can relate to that question as well. And you hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of definite nails being hit on the head. That one was from earlier. Let's see. Let's Carla right here. I didn't cheat. Kept contacting with an ex, but not in a romantic or sexual way, but I lied about who he was. And when asked, I have taken responsibility for my action, but the trust is broken. Okay. How do I rebuild the trust and get forgiveness? I didn't cheat, but kept in contact with an ex, but not in a romantic or sexual way. But I lied about it, who he
Mhm.
was when asked, and taken responsibility for my action, but the trust is broken.
Yeah.
I rebuild the trust and forgiveness.
Hmm. You want to go first or you want me to go first?
So yeah, I'll go first since you just wrapped up that last one.
Okay.
So it's again, there's so much more context that's needed with each and every situation, but so automatically maybe change the way that you're communicate. So if you're asking how, I will give you some pointers here of things to consider. I don't know exactly what's going on, so I'm just gonna give based off of what I have. But automatically, with the way that you communicate, you're not taking full accountability for your actions. Okay, when you say with the next, but no more buts. Okay, so that's the first thing. Emphasize what you did. Okay, I did cheat. Actually, I did. I kept in contact with an ex, and that's cheating because it is. And so you're gonna get me fired up because I want to help,
Hmm.
because these points are so important, right? The perspective and the way that you look at things. Because if your partner gets the idea that you're looking at things, that what I did wasn't really wrong, okay, then that is going to prevent them from forgiving you, because they're going to go, well, why would I forgive you if you're not even sorry for what you've done, because you believe that what you've done wasn't really wrong. So why, so already that alone right there. And so responsibility for your action first and foremost. And I believe you are. I believe you are. But let's take full responsibility by that as well on that end. That's just for the lack of information that I have to best
Yeah.
guide you for just a little bit, again, the information that I have.
Yeah. I think
Mr.
that, yeah, I think that's super useful. I like that. Like taking full responsibility by accident, we might minimize what we're doing because we don't feel like what we were doing was as bad. But in the process of doing that, then you're missing the hurt of the other person, and then you're telling them that you're missing it, right? And so I like what you're talking about, to be able to like mention at least like I know like what I did wasn't, I'm taking full responsibility, right? So I like that fit. Um, the other part that I would say, and this, this is a theme that I really want our couples that get on here with us to look at, our people who get on here. I want them to start looking at this as much as possible, which is like, you can't go buy trust from the store. You can't go buy mistrust from the store. So where do you get that from? You create it in your mind through your beliefs and feelings and your mixture of concoction whatever it is that you do to say, I trust or I do not trust you. We have to create that as people. So a lot of times what the idea of lack of trust comes from is where we're looking. Anytime we think of like lack, it's a vision or a focus issue in our relationship. So for both people in the relationship, both of us have to focus on the goodness that we have and the opportunities that we have, and being able to focus on changing that around as much as possible. So what are we doing in our relationship to, one is be able to look at what it is that where we want to go, but then also to start creating where we want to go. And the more that you guys switch that over, then you create a different concoction besides not trusting each other. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that goes hand in hand, because part of the issue is like, my hurt gets on the next person, love gets love, not trust gets on another person as well. I don't trust, they don't trust. So the calling the ex, or keeping in contact with the ex, or keeping that ex around, was a not trust act. I don't trust that my person is going to bring me all that I can have without me disconnecting from that scenario. That was a lack of trust scenario. Right. So my lack of trust got on somebody else. What happens whenever I start changing that over? Right. Then I think everything changes at that point in time. And so remember that you can't get um, trust factors from what somebody else is giving you. You must create it on the inside. And if that's true, and it is true, when it's true, it means that you have to go to work on the inside in order to do different things. What is that work? It's a focus issue. It's where you focus your attention in your relationship and on yourself. Oops,
I
I
love
don't want
that.
to. I'm
Yeah.
trying to read it. It hurt. Did you get this message already? Oh yeah, yeah. It hurt me when I found out the man I married was not the man he pretended to be.
Oh yeah. I mean, sometimes we all pretend to be someone we're not, or we try to be someone,
Mhm.
and we think we know someone, and or we think that, that we are being that real person, you know,
Yeah.
but deep down we're hiding something. We're not disclosing everything. We're not being, and it's not that we're not being honest with them. It's we're not being honest with ourselves in who and how we are, and the changes we need to make for that, for that relationship, that commitment, and becoming that person.
Yeah.
And so what we do is we know, or we, those changes are there. Something's there that we need to fix or work on, whatever it is, but we ignore it. And
Mhm.
we try to make things good with our partner to make us good. But meanwhile, we're not good on the inside.
Yeah.
But we try to make things good as long as everything's good out here. Okay. But then when things aren't good out here, because we haven't done the good in here, when things fall apart out here, we fall apart in here. And when we fall apart in here, we fall apart in our relationship. The disconnect begins, and so he was that person. He's been that person, right? And it's not to say that this, it's a bad person. We all have our battles. Like I said, we all have our things that we're working through it, healing from, whatever it is. But yeah, it's very devastating, because you have this idea that this person and all of these memories that you've created together, and all of these moments where it felt so real, where you're like, that's not, that wasn't real.
Mhm.
The devastation of all of that, everything we've been through, that wasn't real. You're telling me that? So then what is real? If that wasn't real, what the heck is real?
Mhm.
Is there even such a thing as real? Right? And so then it goes beyond the devastation of what it did to just with you and your spouse or your partner.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and, I'll validate. I think it is hurtful to find out that somebody's different, especially when you're married. Um, and I'll also say this because I have a take on the idea of people changing in marriage, which I think happens frequently. I don't think anybody knows who they're going to be. I mean, this is there's a certain thing where I think there's a mental illness that actually um, where people they can flip it and not necessarily be the same person. But given any other circumstance, I think people do marry with good intention and not as like trickery. I just think that if we don't do our work, we can't get better. And marriage requires a lot out of us because the thing about marriage is basically the human garden. Like marriage gives us the opportunity to become like our highest possibility. But when a garden's not tamed or not, maintained, it also doesn't become anything that it's supposed to be. And sometimes when we hit marriage, that marriage spot, is too much for us because we think like, "Oh, man, like, it's easier to not do all the gardening," right? And we can't see past the idea of whatever the challenge is in that moment, and so I think as people, a lot of times, we don't realize the opportunity and the freedom and the peace that we can get to if we're willing to embrace what marriages give us. And so the battle ensues. Instead, it feels like control and a lot of different things that might be messing with our trauma experiences, and that makes it super difficult. Okay, so I think that that is a disappointing thing. Nobody's going to be the same after they're married. I really believe that. I feel like people either get better or worse. And it's I think people might maintain being them, but I think ultimately if they fully embrace the marriage, like I think we get better as people, because the requirement that it takes to be able to constantly live and serve, live with and serve someone else. So yeah, I wish you the best. I think it was Fox that shared that. So
Mhm.
there's another question that I have. Do you have more questions on your end?
I believe so, but let's get with
Okay.
one of yours.
This
I
one
see
was
that
just
just a couple of comments real quick. Uh, LV, is that Lover? She said, "Oops, that was too quickly. I'm still healing, and he is too. Have no curiosity about the affair. Is that okay?" So yeah, it's all right. We're just coming in here, reading and answering questions, and thank you both for the advice all the way from the UK. Hey, from the UK, I love the people from the UK. I've had so many clients from the UK. It's really cool.
nice.
And just for coming text, it's a LDR relationship to where we only see each other every 2 weeks. Where he lives in Spain. That sounds very interesting. That sounds very interesting. So there's a lot there. That's all I have on my end.
Okay. Um, Cool Beans says my husband doesn't want me to go to counseling. Basically, it hasn't been a good experience. And then, do we have any kind of book, any suggestions on self-help books? My first book's going to be the scripture. Definitely tap into the Bible, and then I'll throw out a couple more after you throw out one fit.
Um, there's so many. I mean, it just depends on what you exactly want to accomplish with a self-help book. But one book I always recommend to everybody, and I wouldn't consider it a self-help book, but it's where I started. Actually, when I first started learning about psychology was through The Art of Seduction.
Mm,
Right? It's by
mm,
Robert Greene. So
mhm,
most one of the most sold books ever in the history of books. The Art of Seduction and
mhm.
learning how to properly seduce, right? And this book can be used for good and evil, right? For me, back then, I used it for evil. I
For
was
for
I
evil.
was tired of the heartbreak and tired of being sad and tired of being rejected. And I just nope, not gonna have it anymore.
Mhm.
But anyways, but that definitely can teach you a lot about yourself
Yeah,
and learning about yourself and vulnerabilities and insecurities and how to actually spot those in others and how to work with them to not to learn about them, to learn how to not hurt them, to learn
yeah,
how to work with them, to actually encourage them or communicate with them, how they prefer to be communicated with, and how to actually get through to them. And yes, it's a long book. but definitely worth it. The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. Again, it's not a self-help book, I would say, but
Yeah, you can
definitely
help
very
yourself.
powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So two more that I think would be super useful is, and you're gonna have to read it more than once. The Body Keeps Score, read more than once, and then Letting Go. These are the two initial books that got me thinking differently about how people interact with other people and about how somebody should interact with themselves differently. So Letting Go is by David Hawkins, and I don't remember who wrote The Body Keeps Score. Do you remember, Fit?
I have it. Uh, I'm gonna grab it.
That's okay. I could look it up too.
It's Vessel van der
Yeah, that's
Kolk.
right. Vanderkolk. Yeah, Vanderkolk.
There we go.
Vessel
Van der
Vanderkolk. Yeah.
Kolk. There we
Yep. So those two books right there are huge. And just a response about not following Christ. Like, it's okay if people don't follow Christ. I think it's huge just for us to be able to know the psychology of the Bible and understand it on a different level. So now when we read it and we understand it on a different kind of level, the psychology helps us to deal with things in effective ways because we go to the right situations now. And that's how I actually as much as possible. And nowadays, there are so many opportunities for us to study the Bible in a different kind of way. Um, and so I would say, yeah, I wouldn't impose my views on anybody, especially biblically when somebody doesn't believe in certain things, it's fine. But we can still interact with and then have conversations the same way based on our reading. And I also believe, kind of like the Shine Campus concept, which is the sun shines no matter what. And so the sun only knows one thing to do, and that's shine. So all of its processes are built so that it can create the energy that emits light. Notice I said it so it could create the energy that emits light. Its focus is not even on shining, really. It just does that, right? And so it doesn't care if people are out sunbathing, like, "Ooh, get me," or people are in the air condition, like, "I can't stand it." It still does its shine. And so I think as people, we want to just fill ourselves up as much as possible, and then I think at that point in time, if we're focused on just shining, then anything that could fill us up like that will do it. Okay. All right. Any other comments that you see fit that we got to respond to?
Nope, none yet. Not right now.
None yet. All right. Man, we are banging away on the comments. I love that. You guys will keep it coming. One of the things that I want to make sure that we do talk about a little bit is just being able to break the pattern. And so we spent a little bit of time on the comments, but I said earlier we'd talk about forgiveness. And so for me, us being able to think about forgiveness differently, which forgiving isn't about acting like nothing happened. And I think too often we get that concept mixed up about what forgiveness actually means. And so if I forgive, I don't mention it anymore, or if I forgive, I forget about it. And none of those things are actually true or even healthy. And so for us, we really have to be able to say like what hurt us in a truthful way. And so what hurt us usually in a truthful way isn't what we think. So sometimes we think what hurt me was that somebody called me a name or did some behavior that I didn't like. It's not that hurt us. What hurt us is our connection to that scenario. So, for instance, man, I have this expectation that I'm in a relationship where it's just you and me, and that you care enough about me to not do anything that would ruin that scenario. And then you did that, and that expectation that I created is what has generated so much hurt for me because I held you in that kind of value and that special. And so, us just being able to name that pain, that alone is a huge step to us being able to be free of where it actually comes from. So, it's one thing to say, like, you cheated on me, now I'm hurt. You'll miss it at that point in time, right? It's what I've created and generated as far as experience goes that's really kind of um, uh, given me the feeling of like this does not feel good, right? So forgiveness doesn't necessarily let that other person off the hook, Forgiveness starts speaking more truth into it. Look, that person is dealing with whatever they're dealing with, and I don't need to be the judge of whether it's good or bad, right? And so if I'm not connected to making that person pay or not pay, um, then I could be free. And that's what we really want, you guys. If there wasn't, if you're not clear about what your aim is in life, to me, a good aim that we should put in our life is, one, is have peace in our heart, and then two is have freedom in our heart. And freedom doesn't mean do whatever we want to do. It means grow things that mean abundance for ourselves. And so that's really the challenge for us to be able to do in our lives, is as much as possible, is to create what's really going on. Okay, I have a question for you, Fit, that might help people to break some of the patterns that mean that they're kind of um, letting go, but they're pretending that it didn't hurt. So, what's the difference between real forgiveness and fake forgiveness?
Mm. I'm over it. I don't matter. You know, the fake. Oh, don't worry about it. It's all good.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm over it. I don't care about it. Screw it. Whatever it is. Those are the fake forgiveness. That is us trying to stuff it down. That is us trying to convince ourselves that it doesn't matter, or that is us not properly processing enough to realize that it really does bother us that much, and how and why. Uh,
Hmm.
and so many times we continue to say, "Oh well, no, no, just don't even worry about it," because, well, let's talk about what. No, 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 we don't need to talk about what happened.
Hmm.
It's good. It's not. That's that's how you know it's not good. When we don't need to talk about it. And hey, so that's how some people deal with it. I get it. And I'm not going to say it's wrong to do that, but there are certain things that can happen if that's happening. And
Yeah.
so the true forgiveness is not saying that you forgive this person, is truly understanding why and how it affected you,
Hmm.
and possibly try to remove that person from the equation. And if you're able to do that, you were able to remove the person that hurt you from the equation to fully understand why you are hurt and your pain, to process it so you can forgive. Ooh,
Yeah.
that is the efficient route, or can be.
Yeah. To be free, right? I think that's huge. So I'm going to share how I work a little bit with helping my clients to basically like say what's true, and then at the same time give somebody some grace. And then if you want to add anything, you can do that too. So I think one of the key components of us being in a relationship is we are going to hurt each other at some rate. We're going to do our best sometimes, and still we're going to do something that's hurtful. And so if I'm on the receiving end of that hurt, how do I say what's true, and then at the same time give that other person grace? And so I think the way to do it is actually in the definition. So the truth is the aspect that I just talked about. Like, first, truth is it's a lot of times not about what somebody else is doing, but more about the expectations and the relationship that you've created and allowed, that creates the hurt, right? And so it's a mixture of those things. And the more we understand that, then I think that that actually is a freedom point. But then the second thing is, well, how do I give somebody grace? Because the truth is that it's they're connected to, or somehow a part of um, of hurting me at some rate, right? How do I then give them grace? And the definition for me of grace is not being the person who's responsible for getting somebody in trouble. So the way that works is sometimes somebody will give another person silent treatment, or will start repaying them somehow, and all in the name of punishment, whether they're using that word or not. Usually they're not using that word, but all in the name of punishment. You did this behavior to me, so I must do this back to you, right? And instead of us feeling like we're the one that needs to fix it, or we need to do something different so they'll learn, we let go of that responsibility for ourselves. And we understand that everybody will have their own process. Some will learn, some will get better, some won't. Um, but the only route for us to be able to have that peace and that freedom is for us to get to a point where it says, I'm not responsible for making that person better. And if there is a responsibility or a tie to us, to them getting better and me, it's going to be the love I give, not the punishment that I give. right? So in order for me to get to that place, though, I have to really do my work to be able to say I'm not in charge of whether that person does the things they're supposed to do or not. Okay. And the more that we pursue those two things at the same time, look, the truth is, I created this image in my mind that you were going to be an upstanding partner that I can trust and that I feel like I can be a part of, and there wasn't going to be anything else. I created that in my mind. I'm responsible for that. I can see now that there's something else there, and that's hurtful to me. That's the truth. But I'm also not going to be responsible for your behavior or trying to punish you because you did what you did. My next step is to grow as a person and see what that creates for me, right? And the more that we can look at that, that gives us the truth and the grace opportunity. So I'm not tied to or stuck in trying to punish somebody and move them around like, there you go again, you got on your phone again when you weren't supposed to, and that kind of scenario keeps happening. And I got to keep watching, right? And so we're kind of freeing ourselves from that. Any other ways that you want to add that you help clients to hold truth and grace at the same time?
Yeah. I mean, just a lot of the basic factors or the philosophies that I teach of accountability, right?
Mhm.
But it is, expressing, hey, this is what's going on. This is causing the issue. This is what's happening, right? Expressing
Yeah.
it. This is what the problem is or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's very freeing. And because there's a resistance. There's this pressure. There's this just when you're trying to make somebody change, you can't make somebody change. Not only that, why would you want to?
Mhm.
Right? In their change, you can support their change, right? But that must be someone within deciding that they desire the change because they realize they need and want to.
Mhm.
But the moment you start to try to make someone else change, realize that you are changing when you are doing that.
Right.
How are you? How does that change you to try to make your partner change for you or change for the relationship?
Mhm.
Right. So that in there in itself can be demoralizing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But again, giving the grace and saying, hey, when it comes to your issues are causing problems in our relationship. But when it comes to that, my name is Raul, and this is between y'all.
Let's do it. I'm here to love. That's
That's
what
for
I'm here to
you.
do. Yeah, I love it. So there's a follow-up question that says, how do you forgive yourself? And so if you've well, it doesn't really matter like what the scenario is. To me, it doesn't matter what the scenario is. The route for forgiving ourselves is always the same. The route for forgiving ourselves is a focus on being able to get to the things that we want to be a part of versus the things that we've already been a part of. So what that looks like in real life is no matter what the transgression was, let's say that somebody cheated on us and we feel like, man, I should have done more, I should have done better, any kind of should that we would have done on ourselves. Um, the forgiveness is the way we do the forgiveness, the process is being focused on, look, I'm going to keep getting better as a person, period. That's where my attention has to go. If I keep focusing on, we will not forgive ourselves if we keep focusing on the things that we weren't. We won't forgive ourselves if we keep focusing on the things our relationship didn't have, right? Even if you were the person who did the cheating, okay? So the important part is you have to be able to focus on where you want to be and doing the things that you want to be a part of. Brene Brown, I love the way she says it. She says like forgiveness has always been tied to letting something die.
Hmm.
And so in your process of forgiving, it always is letting something die. What do you want to let? What thought do you need to let die? The thought that needs to die is the idea that says there's a lack. There was a lack. There was something missing. I was missing. Something about me was missing. All of those processes will get us into a point um, of not being able to forgive ourselves. Right. The more we understand, like, look, I'm wired for goodness. I'm wired to be great. I'm wired to be a special partner. I'm wired for this. The idea of forgive and hold on to things starts going down a whole lot. Next thing you know, you don't even have to worry about whether or not there's a point of forgiveness or not. Okay, and so I think that changes. That route is no matter what the circumstance is. The hardest part of that is sometimes figuring out what to let die. And I'm telling you right now, the code or the
Mhm,
secret sauce
mhm.
is finding out what's the part where I was looking at what I was missing. So as long as I'm looking at what I'm missing, I need to let that part die, and then we're gonna be in a better spot. Okay. All right. Hey, we're in my favorite spot right now, which is the red flag or real talk. But we got a different kind of edition today.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
there's a lot of comments coming
Forgive.
in and I'm loving it. I
Sweet.
see more, but I
Oh,
mean,
no.
it's up to
We
you,
can get
Mr.
to them.
Castro, where you want to take it if we want to do
No,
that. I
let's
mean,
let's get to them before we get into it. Because my more favorite part is when people comment and we're having conversation with them.
um uh SK Steam, I think or Steam. I've said that, well, my boyfriend of 20 years can only say I made a mistake. I'm sorry, but he never explains where the behavior comes from. I told him I'm insulted because he's betrayed me. He does try to tell me to get over it. I've confronted him asking if he needs an open relationship, but he says no, but the behavior is of a single man. He's done something every year for almost 20 years. Okay. Uh, yeah. And so there's no real question there, but it just goes to the ongoing. If you don't know why, if you don't even feel like you want to know why, or the why of your own issues, feeling like you even need to, or convincing yourself that you don't need to, or whatever it is. But it just speaks to, if you don't get to the roots of why you do something and begin to rewire your brain and body to no longer be that person. It's not about just not cheating anymore. It's about becoming the person. Okay. And so, but Kathy Fox and Cool Beans in here showing a lot of love and support. Kathy says it helps to talk about what hurt because it heals at the same time. Got my cousin in here, Jaleesa. Good morning.
Good
All
morning.
right. Happy sunrise. Hey, we got to, Prima, we got to do a video together, a dance video together. Okay.
Boom.
Cool Beans is asking, how do you forgive yourself?
Yeah, I
Mr.
saw that
Castro,
one. We
how
got
do
that
you
one.
forgive yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that one earlier. I saw that and responded to that one.
Okay. Okay.
Let's respond a little bit more to our friend who was in that 20-year relationship, and this is a challenge that I'm going to give instead of an answer to a question, and I think that'll be useful. So I want to challenge that relationship to aim higher. I want to challenge that relationship to want to want to get to a spot of actually being together and moving forward in their relationship, right? Like there's different levels to relationship where, you know, we can still like interact in as if we're boyfriend and girlfriend, or and do things that don't mean like move forward and make each other better. But let's have a bigger vision for ourselves and our relationship and challenge each of us as individuals. Not that I need to impose this on the next person, but me as the partner in the relationship to go more, to want more out of my relationship, right? Instead of us interacting with um the things that mean like, oh, you know what, like I'm gonna ask for forgiveness every year, over the same scenario. What do I need to do to where I'm not in that situation? So what's the work that I need to do? And that's where I'm throwing out the challenges. Like the challenge is to be better in your relationship. So that means that go to work, start pushing on who you're being so that this next year you're not asking for forgiveness. You're pursuing higher and you're asking, can we go somewhere together? Or can we do this next thing in our relationship together? Can we make this next step in our relationship? Right. And those are move forward concepts. Those are let's get better concepts in our relationship. Okay.
It seems like, though, when one person wants to get better, the other person doesn't, and uh, it can lead to that. But, the question is, she wants to know, when is enough enough?
Hmm.
When I try
Um,
to leave, he begs me to stay. And that's the thing. that is the thing, is guilting your partner. And I'm not, here to try to emphasize on anything to, make it shed a bad light on anything, but guilting someone for wanting to do what's best for them because you keep hurting them, and they are there giving you chance after chance, and then you guilt them for leaving you. And this happens so many times. I'm not saying this is the case in this one, but if you leave me, I'm gonna
Yeah.
well, that's, oh, you're gonna leave me, okay, well then I'm out of here. Then what reason do I have to live, and all this stuff? And so we're
Mhm.
getting into something a little deeper there, but that does happen,
Mhm.
and so in those case scenarios, again, I mean, that's a, I can get into that, but I mean, Mr. Castro, I mean, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, we don't have to decide enough is enough, and this is hard for me without speaking specifically to that person, but like you won't ever have to decide enough is enough. Just keep working on your pieces, and you'll see like people fall off. The only reason why somebody gets to say enough is enough is because or why another person could say leave and or don't leave and I don't leave is because I'm not done doing my work yet. But as soon as I get done doing my work and I'm working and I do all the things I have to, one is the question probably won't come in to stay or not. They'll know like, hey, it's a wrap, right? The second part is I won't even have a question. I'm already done because I'm past that part of being in my life, right? And so you won't even have to ask the question of when is enough enough. It's whenever you do that work, like, you start becoming that thing, and you understand, like, this doesn't move the way that I need it to move. I don't see that person doing their work or making their progress. I don't need that for me to keep getting better, but I'm gonna keep getting better, but I can take a note, I can feel, they can feel, right? Where it's not enough anymore, and I won't even have to ask. So that time is coming, just keep pursuing the best that you can do in the relationship. Don't allow whatever the relationship is doing to become who you are. And that's really difficult because a lot of times that person does something, so I'm going to start being this way. And I don't want you to deteriorate because of what somebody else is doing as a person. You still be the most that you possibly can in a relationship. Now that's part of the challenge that I'm giving as far as higher level relationship, right? And so will it fall off? I mean, it can. If somebody's not ready to move in that direction, and they start seeing goodness, only certain people can go to Disneyland. It only attracts certain amount of people. There's a lot of combination. You need time, you need money, you need to be able to get away, you need family, you need to be interested. There's a lot of things that go into that. Only certain people. Not everybody goes to Disneyland. Same thing for us as people. Only certain people can stay whenever we get to this level. Maybe a certain amount of people could stay when we're here, but then as we go here, or let's not even do it levels because that seems like higher or lower. Only certain people could stay whenever we're here versus whenever we're here or here, right? Like that matches a certain kind of person and interaction. So as I start moving to a different kind of place, it doesn't matter if it's up, down, or wherever it's at. As I start moving, there's going to be different people here than there are going to be here. Period. That's what happens. So my job is just to keep pursuing me and then trust the work that I do. Trust the work that I do. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. The work. It's all about the work.
Yeah. The work.
As you said before, all work works.
All
Um,
work works.
and yeah, it because here's the thing right here that I like to emphasize to so many. That's my favorite word today, emphasize. Where did I hear that from? I must have heard it from somewhere. Uh, but you recognize when someone is genuine about change when you see it is important to them. And you know it is important to them when they're not just interested, they're committed, they're absolutely serious.
Mhm.
Uh, and you will see them. They will continue to do that because it's important to them, because they've realized of all of the things they've done in their life, this is the source of it. And so this source is causing the other sources in my life, sources, people, things, situations, right? Opportunities, whatever it is, to crumble. They're having a negative effect as a result of this right here. And
Mhm.
so that's when that becomes important to you, That when you're going, I'm no longer concerned with if I change, I'm going to save my marriage or get my relationship or stop them from leaving me. When you go, I'm changing because it's what's right.
Mhm.
And where that leads me is going to be in the right place
Mhm.
because I'm right here. And then now things will be right here because you're absolutely right. In a metaphorical sense, not everybody can go to Disneyland here.
Mhm.
You see all the
Yeah,
complications of it, not
for
being
sure.
ready to go to Disneyland. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so important. I'm gonna emphasize what you just a part that you said, Fit, which is like you can't necessarily wait on what that other person is doing. That's the difference between us being on the bumper in the cars driving, holding on for dear life, and being in the driver's seat. And we want to be in the driver's seat. We do not want to be on the bumper whenever the car is moving. We want to be in the driver's seat. We don't even want to be in the passenger. We want to be in the driver's seat. So the challenge for us is like, I'm not waiting on what you're doing to decide what I'm going to do. I'm driving. And as I drive, if you happen to be at one of my stops or inside the passenger seat or you're ready to roll with me, whatever it is, come on. If you're not, you either get on the bumper or you get out. Like that, those, and you don't got to say those words to anybody, but that has to be the focus. Like the focus has to be, I have to get to the spot myself, right? I need to make sure I do that because I that's what creates readiness for a relationship. That's what creates readiness for a relationship when I can get to a place that a person who when I can become the person who can have a relationship, right? So, I hope that's helpful to our listener. All right, we have a word that we'll give out today. I want to give the reset too, but I'm gonna just run over the reset real quick. I think that
Okay.
that'll okay. So the reset, I'll run over it. So first, you guys, because I want to be able to give you guys something to help you to say, look, I'm gonna go ahead and let go of something without pretending that it didn't hurt. What's the first thing? Well, first is you got to name it, and we talked about how to name it earlier. Whenever we're talking about, and you could rewind the tapes on it, but whenever we're talking about being able to say what it really is, that's super important. And then allow yourself to feel what's going on without having to judge it, without having to be a person that says, oh, I shouldn't feel this way, I shouldn't have done this. Anytime you're shooting on yourself, I remember my very first mentor talked about shooting. He says, do not shoot on yourself. That's probably the thing that gets the most messy, right? And so when you do feel something, you want to say that that is an okay way of feeling or experiencing what's going on. And the ultimate to me is this last step, which is, can you really release it? And so the more that you are able to say, look, I don't have to be tied to this. As much as I experience that, I don't have to be tied to it. And there are different ways to be able um, to do that. But one of the more useful ways for you to be able to do this, and this would probably be something I would do. You guys can create something like that. I think a lot of things have to be right brain for them to process through. And so you could literally draw a picture of whatever the thing is, even if it was in a word. Like, um, let's say that somebody's called you a name, and you can draw that name out or write that name out, and then bundle it and throw it away, and make sure you take it out on the day's trash that's supposed to happen, right? Like that actual interaction gives you a chance to be able to move on releasing it, right? And so anything that's like that, you guys would be able uh, to do. Okay. Um, so yeah, Fit. Anything else you want to add? Not that you have
Uh,
to. I
nope,
won't put
that
you
was
on the
good
spot.
right there. I was ready
Okay.
to jump into the next one.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go for the word of the week.
Well, hold on. So one thing because what I wanted to add was a part of the second part, which was
Okay.
validating,
Yep.
about validating, allowing yourself to feel the weight of it without judgment. And
Hmm.
so when things happen and it affects you in a certain way, reflect on it and sit back and go, okay, all right, this thing happened earlier and I did this, and that's what happened and it led to this. Let me go back and see what happened. I mean, how did that actually make me feel? Okay, you know what? I
Yeah.
got angry because they told me that my project wasn't how they wanted it, and it took way too long, and they criticized it heavily, and I got mad. Why did I get mad? Because I felt like they were being unfair to me. Okay, so why did I think that they were being unfair? What could have led to that? Right?
Mhm.
Were they actually being unfair, or was it maybe I could have done better on my project? What's the real thing that I'm really upset about? Did I feel rejected? Wait a minute. Whoa, that kind of bothers me right there. That word,
Mhm.
yo, wow. Maybe it's right. So, yeah, you know what? I felt rejected. That's what it, right? Eureka, right? And so then we go back and we dig, and then, but we don't go like, well, yeah, I felt rejected. Well, I guess that means I'm just, this, and that. And then, shooting on ourselves, right? Well, shush, I should be more confident than that, or, whatever it is, without the judgment of it is very
Mhm.
important. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
huge deal. Okay. So you guys, just so you know, we do a session meetup where it's a private session monthly. That'll be coming up in 2 weeks from now. And we basically, in a bigger way, help to talk about whatever the theme was for the month. And in this month, it's all about the resentment factors and being able to stay and release away from resentment. So that does happen. Our word of the week that I want you guys to really work on is being able to release. And so we'll talk a little bit right now before we take off. I'll give you like 30 seconds of my concept about release, just so that you guys can have that in your mind, right? So, what do I need to release? And to me, release is some form of let go. And a lot of times, what it is our connection to the things that are going to that we don't have control over, right? So as long as I'm holding on to things that I don't have control over, trying to intertwine with those, a lot of times um, that's what causes me more pain than not, right? My focus on the things that I don't have control over or I don't have in general um, will cause me a lot of pain. So releasing to me is letting go of that scenario to give yourself a different kind of picture in your life. And so, if you can kind of think, what are all the ways that I could release? Because there's emotional, relational, spiritual, there's different kinds of ways to release. Think along those lines and see what you can grow this week. Anything else to add to the release factor fit?
Beware of the things to release that we are not aware that we are holding on to. So when you go in and you command to release, whether it's in a journal or a meditation, and you say, I now release everything that I've been worried about. I now release this weight that's been on my shoulders. I now release anything that I know that I'm holding on to, and anything and everything that I may not know I'm holding on to.
Mhm.
So remember that as well. When letting go sometimes takes a little bit further investigating to see if we are truly holding on to things that we may not even be aware of.
Mhm. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Okay, so you guys, we are a little bit over time, but that's okay. I loved all the comments today. Actually, we got a couple more, and that's about cost and how much and how to sign up. So we actually did last month for free. I think we're doing this month for free too in our meetup. And then also I'll post a link um, on our for this next course. I'll post a link for that. Actually, Fit, I don't want to give that link out to everybody, even though it's free. So why don't we do that? We post it in our next live. So in order to get our link for this next meetup, which is in 2 weeks, you got to be in our live. There we go.
Yeah.
And everybody will have that because whenever we post this video. So if they want to show up in there, that's what it's going to take.
All right. I like it. And I welcome everyone on in there. And I love
Yep.
to see you guys in there. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, you guys, take off or have a good day. We're going to take off. Fit anything before we take off?
Yes, have the most amazing, beautiful day, and realize that the power is inside of you. Mr. Castro, if you're going to tell me, leave off some good words, man, I'm going to take advantage.
I love it.
All right. Spread that good energy, baby. Get it. Right. That's all I got.
Yes.
I'll just stop there because I'll go
Yeah,
on.
he says, get it. That's what I'm talking about. All right, you guys, enjoy your day. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye, you guys.